Shot at's no problem with getting hit. I've been shot at several times.
I just thought you were somebody else. Sorry. You run me her son. She's a sweetheart. You had a good one.
Someone asked why it's so crowded. It's because they have the Second Amendment Sanctuary County resolution coming up tonight. That's probably the majority of the people who are here are for that. A couple of us were saying they probably should have anticipated this and put this in the upstairs courtroom, but what's done is done. Yes, this is the first item on the agenda is the Second Amendment Sanctuary County resolution. So the only good thing is they'll probably get that done first, and a lot of these folks might not stay for that for the rest.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Dawson Fields to lead us in prayer. Any prayer request before I go?
Okay, Marvel.
Our country.
Any more? The Kirkpatrick family. Any more?
Our president.
Yes. Good. Let's pray. Lord, we'd like to first and foremost come to you and just thank you for your son, Lord. Thank you for the blood that was shed. Thank you, Lord, for allowing him to die for our sins, Lord. We can never repay that debt. We, Lord, like to just ask you to forgive us of our sins. Forgive us of our shortcomings. Lord, forgive us of all the stuff that we forget to ask for, because we do it daily. We'll never stand, we'll never hold up to measure to you, Lord, but we gotta try. We gotta try. We gotta walk in your footprints, Lord, and that's all we can try to do. Lord, we ask you to be with us. The prayer requests that were just announced out, Lord, we ask you to watch over those people, Lord. We ask you to watch over our government, watch over our president, watch over everybody, Lord. We ask you to watch over this meeting, Lord, and have us make the right decision, have us make just decisions, not just right, but have us make just decisions too. Again, we ask you to forgive us our sins and many shortcomings. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Recognize Commissioner Witt to lead us in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize to you, Mr. Witt. I asked you to lead us in prayer. I'm sorry. We'll call the meeting order at this time, and we have a rather lengthy agenda tonight, and we ask everybody to please stay on point and let's, not get
off subject, let's stay well within subject. I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. We know that we've got a large audience that's here pertaining to the Second Amendment resolution, and I'd like to applaud you for standing up for the Second Amendment. But when it comes time for that resolution, I've asked Mr. Harrell to make sure that we've got one person that can speak and be the spokesperson for the whole group. There's no way that we can let each and every individual here tonight have time on a time schedule that could speak. So, you know, at that time, but we're gonna move right along, and I appreciate you being here. We'll, ask the clerk to do the roll call.
Mr. Chairman, we have 21 commissioners present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll ask, Mr. Phillips to read the conflict of interest.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, those of you that acknowledge you have an indirect conflict of interest, namely Jeff Berry, do you acknowledge that indirect conflict of interest for all actions and purposes of this meeting?
I do.
Let the record reflect that he has done so.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. At this time, is there any commendations or recognitions? Being none, is there any office reports? And I know that, Mr. Phillips has got some things that needs to be read into the minutes, and I'll ask him to do that first.
All right. The following has been filed in the Hawkins County Clerk's Office. The Hawkins County General Assistance Annual Financial Report for the period ending December 31, 2019. Hawkins County Circuit Court Annual Financial Report for the period ending December 31, 2019. Hawkins County Juvenile Court Annual Financial Report for the period ending December 31, 2019. Reappointment by the County Mayor of Rick Burr as Commissioner of the Mooresburg Utility District for the term January 1, 2020 and ending midnight December 31st, 2024. Reappointment by the County Mayor of Carroll Fuller to fill the office of Commissioner of the First Utility District of Hawkins County for the term February 22nd, 2020 and ending February 21, 2024. Reappointment by the County Mayor of Reed Matney as Commissioner of the Hawkins Gas Utility District of Hawkins County for the term February 1, 2020 and ending January 31, 2024. The Hawkins County Mayor's Office balance sheets and summary financial statements for all funds for July 1, 2019 through December 31, 2019. The Department of Education Quarterly Review Report 2019 to 2020 second quarter.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Is there any other office reports or committee reports? Being none, next item would be approval of last month's minutes, and everybody should have a copy of those.
I so move, Mr. Chairman. Thacker. I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Thacker, second by
That's all right, John got it.
by Commissioner Metz. Is there any discussion on the minutes? If not, would everybody vote?
Yes.
Next item, we move on to resolutions, and resolution 20-0101, and that would be introduced by Commissioner Harrell.
Mr. Phillips, can you read that for me?
Yes, sir. Resolution reference Hawkins County Commission declaring support of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Whereas the 111th General Assembly in its 2019 session considered and referred to committees for further study SBO 943/HB 1049 that authorizes the issuance of Extreme Risk Protection Order, also known as Red Flag Law. Extreme Risk Protection Orders means an order in writing signed by the court prohibiting and enjoining a named person from having in the person's custody or control, owning, possessing, purchasing, or receiving any firearm or ammunition. Whereas Article 1, Section 26 of the Tennessee Constitution states, the citizens of this state have a right to keep and to bear arms for their common defense. but the legislature shall have the power by law to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. And whereas the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, adopted in 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights, protects the inalienable and individual right of the people to keep and bear arms. And whereas the United States Supreme Court in District of Columbia versus Heller, 554 U.S. 570, 2008, affirmed an individual's right to possess firearms unconnected with service in a militia for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home. And whereas the United States Supreme Court in McDonald versus Chicago, 561 U.S. 742, 2010, affirmed that the right of an individual to keep and bear arms as protected under the Second Amendment is incorporated by the due process clause of the 14th Amendment against the states. And whereas the United States Supreme Court in United States versus Miller, 307 U.S. 174, 1939, opined that firearms that are part of ordinary military equipment or with use that could contribute to the common defense are protected by the Second Amendment. And whereas it is a desire of the Hawkins County Commission to declare its support of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and to protect law-abiding citizens' right to keep and bear arms. Whereas the Hawkins County Commission opposes the enactment of any federal or state law, including red flag laws, which infringe on a citizen's Second Amendment right to bear arms. Now therefore be it resolved that the Hawkins County Board of Commissioners hereby declares that Hawkins County to be a Second Amendment Sanctuary County, meaning that Hawkins County will provide safe haven and protect the United States Constitution and the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding county citizens, except for legally upheld statutes, laws, or final court orders. This resolution shall take effect from and after its passage. All resolutions in conflict herein shall be, and the same are hereby rescinded insofar as such conflict exists. Now, please see attached for reference Senate Bill 943 and House Bill 1049.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Harrell, second by Commissioner Alvis. Is there any discussion? Mr. Harrell.
I'd like to recognize Peggy Ray. There is 3-minute time, and could you, we can, just please wrap it up whenever.
I've got it prepared and I'll be ready. Thank you all. Thank you, Commissioner, for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Katie Ray. I'm a citizen of Hawkins County. Proudly, most of my life I've lived here. I am a concealed carry instructor for the state of Tennessee. I'm also a set of discipline NRA instructor as well. So I feel well versed to speak on my Second Amendment rights and hopefully represent the people behind me as well. The following counties around us have passed their Second Amendment sanctuary constitutional resolutions already: Polk, Blount, Monroe, Loudon, Roane, Carter, Jefferson, and the town of Dandridge, Sevier, Hamlin, Greene, Cobb, Claiborne, Unicoi, Johnson, Granger, Hancock, and Wayne County. Coming up tonight, of course, are Hawkins County and Washington County. The intent and purpose of a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution is to provide a third oversight, if you will, a citizen's oversight to add to the first 2 layers of the government oversight that we're already guaranteed, both in the Constitution of the United States and the great state of Tennessee in Section 26, that we, the citizens, have the right to keep and bear arms as our common defense. The state of Tennessee is already a Second Amendment supportive state, and this community desires the support our surrounding counties and be in unison with their stance as Second Amendment sanctuary counties. The Second Amendment sanctuary resolution draws its inspiration and name from the immigration sanctuary movement in jurisdictions that have resolved not to assist our federal enforcement of immigration laws against illegal aliens. The Second Amendment sanctuary is only a natural response to prevent establishment of illegal laws against our law-abiding citizens. The precedent has already been set at the federal level that no funding will be withheld from all the sanctuaries. Funding cannot be withheld from legal and lawful sanctuaries. I just want to touch briefly on the violent crime statistics, and I'm sure our sheriff is much more current on these than I am. But the FBI statistics from 1998 to 2017 shows that violent crime has decreased 16%, and I would like to offer that a significant decrease was probably already founded in that due to the significant increase in handgun carry permits. that have been obtained within the last 3 years. It's certainly the opportunity for people to commit crimes has decreased, I would think. The use of our laws against its own citizens to limit our guaranteed rights and liberties rather than to watch and our limited overreach of our government is chilling. So we want to make sure that we are able to provide you all with a reason to support this and prevent the government from overreaching down the line as far as our state is concerned and later on our U.S. government. Currently, Senate Bill 1807 was brought up on 1/23/2020. This is in fact a red flag gun law, and the corresponding House Bill, HB 1873, was filed Friday. Thank you for your attention. I ask, I encourage, and I implore you to send a message to our other counties across the state of Tennessee that we support them and that we value our rights as law-abiding citizens, that we already have the ability to police ourselves without violating each other's rights. Please send that message today. Thank you for the few minutes to speak.
Chairman Brewer, I'd like to recognize Sheriff Lawson.
Good evening. I've reviewed this resolution, and I really don't have any problem with this resolution. I see what's going on in America and our different states around us, and a lot of people's rights have been infringed on. And I want to say, as long as I'm sheriff in Hawkins County, I'll uphold the Constitution of the state of Tennessee, the Constitution of the United States, and everything will be fine here in Hawkins County. We have our right to bear arms, and as long as we are legal, we'll bear them. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Barker, you may be recognized.
Thank you. I just got one point of clarification that I would like to bring up, and it's in the very first sentence of the, where it says that those two bills are under consideration. And I just want you all to know, they are not under consideration. They were sent up to committee to judiciary. They were sent back to committee for a review. So at this time, they have been filed, but they are not under consideration from the State House or the Senate House. The bill that you just recently mentioned is also the same thing. It went to judiciary, it died for a lack of a second, and it went back to committee. Usually when that happens, it's kind of like a dark hole, it doesn't come out. I have talked to our state representative, and I have talked to our senator, and with the House being a majority, and the Senate being a majority, that they said that there was no way that this was ever going to pass. But I just want to make a point of clarification. It has been filed, but it is not under consideration in either house. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for bringing it up.
Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to let you say that. I'd like to speak.
Let me recognize this lady. She asked to speak before you call for questions. If that's all right, is that okay?
Is that all right?
My name is Tanya Strunk-Hadson. I'm a resident of Hawkins County, District 6. I'm here in support of the resolution. Obviously, you know that they have not been passed. They have passed first consideration, and we're not mind readers, so we don't know if it's going to continue to go further. Somebody may have told you, oh, it has no chance of passing, but they also said Trump had no chance of being elected. So we can't tell the future, so we have to prepare ourselves for that.
Yes.
You know, I'm glad the resolution's being considered. However, I do have a problem with one part of it. The last sentence references providing a safe haven and protecting the rights of citizens. However, the last part of that sentence where it says, except for legally upheld statutes, laws, or final court orders, I imagine that sounds like it would make this a lame resolution. It wouldn't have any upholding in the courts if we're supposed to follow the law. The pressure to implement stricter and often unconstitutional gun laws is getting worse. This is an example. Senator Kyle's also put another bill in regarding firearms, that she doesn't want you to be able to store them in your car along with ammunition. This is the beginning of the process where all kinds of bills are being implemented the last year or two. Law-abiding citizens that have full state permits to carry have gone through training and background checks to ensure they're upstanding citizens. Red flag laws infringe on the rights of all citizens who legally own firearms with or without carry permits. They take away our right to protect ourselves in public and effectively on our personal property. Enforcement of this type of law has the potential to create massive resentment between officers and community, resulting in further division that's rampant in our state and counties. Our commission should be proactive in this matter. I urge you to revise the resolution language to be effective and recommend that it be passed immediately. We as citizens need to continue to educate ourselves about these important matters and only vote for those who are willing to protect our constitutional rights. We have to stand up for ourselves and let it known that we will not be bullied, we will not be silenced, and we will not tolerate further oppression of our constitutional rights. Now please, do the right thing.
Commissioner Thacker has called for question. Is there any objection from the commission about question? If not, question has been called for, we're going to vote on this resolution. Right now, we're gonna just take just a few minutes for anybody that wishes to leave, so that we can, everybody will be able to hear. You're welcome to stay. I'm not asking you to leave. You wish to leave.
That was pretty easy. Yeah, we're going Yeah.
I'm John Ozer.
Hi.
Enjoy your writing.
Thank you. Spoke to you on the phone, didn't I?
No, I wrote to you.
Text. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Like your shirt. Like your shirt too.
Every day. You too have patience.
I'm burning up. I can take my jacket off. Ooh.
Some of y'all go to states and you feel like y'all love us or anything.
Now it's an outside.
We feel love.
Take a picture of the aftermath.
Temperature dropped 10 degrees. And you know, the really important things are about to be considered.
Stuff that's going to affect your every
Yeah.
Flo was talking about the insurance, half time, smash mouth, down the door, the thing and a half.
Tony, we need to wait for sure.
I think he's moving along, sir. I think he does your meeting, sir.
So we can,
Yes, sir.
so we're ready to.
I believe so, sir.
We're gonna call the meeting back to order if everyone would this up, and we're gonna go ahead and go into resolution 2020-0102. And that resolution be introduced by Commissioner DeWitt.
To the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman, and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission in regular session, met this 27th day of January 2020. Resolution reference approval and adoption of the compensation and classification pay scales for Hawkins County Health Department employee not currently on previously approved scale. Whereas the current pay scale for Hawkins County General and Solid Waste Fund employees was adopted in July 2019 via Resolution 2019-0806 by the County Commission, and whereas the current pay scale does not allow for employees that were working 30 hours per week as prescribed by state requirements, and the Hawkins County Health Department has such an employee with the title breastfeeding peer counselor. The funding for that position comes from the state WIC USDA program to the county, which in turn pays the employee, but the position has not been previously placed in a pay grade or on any current pay scale. And whereas the Personnel Committee voted previously to have all county employees on the current scale, and directed the Chairman of the Committee along with the Director of Hawkins and Hancock County Health Department and Director of Accounts and Budgets in the Hawkins County Mayor's Office to place the above position in a pay grade on the current scale. And whereas it has been determined by the above parties that the position of breastfeeding peer counselor should be rated at pay grade 4 on the current scale, and whereas the Personnel Committee voted to utilize the salary for the selected grade, but multiplied by 0.8 to account for the difference in hours worked. Now, therefore be it resolved that approval be given beginning retroactively to the beginning of the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget to add the above named position to the list of Hawkins County employees at pay grade 4 and pay reduced to 0.8 of the salary for that range in time and position. And be it further resolved that if the state of Tennessee determines that position to require a full-time employee and likewise funds that position, the 0.8 multiplier be removed and the employee paid on the appropriate scale. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Motion by Commissioner DeWitt, second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any discussion? If not, cast your vote.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is 2020-0103, and that resolution is introduced by Commissioner DeWitt.
To the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman, and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission in regular session, met this 27th day of January 2020. Resolution in reference committee meeting compensation for multiple meetings held on the same day. Whereas currently Hawkins County Commissioners that have 2 or more committee meetings on the same day are compensated for only one of those meetings. And whereas on certain occasions lengthy travel and idle time between meetings can create a significant loss of income for commissioners who have multiple meetings on one day. And whereas the time commissioners spend in preparation for committee meetings is no less if the meetings are held on the same day or different days. And whereas the budget is set based on committees having a sufficient number of meetings to handle business put before them, now therefore be it resolved that commissioners attending a committee meeting be compensated for each meeting regardless of its proximity to any prior or subsequent meeting. Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, Commissioner DeWitt, for the interruption.
that's fine. I didn't hear.
Motion by Commissioner Witt, second by Commissioner Edens. Is there any discussion? Mr. Harrell, you're recognized.
Is there enough money in the county commissioner fund to do this?
Yes, sir. When the budget is set, each committee is scheduled for a certain number of meetings.
Correct.
So it's already in the budget for a certain number of meetings. It won't have really any effect on the budget line.
Commissioner Barrett, you're recognized.
Commissioner DeWitt,
Yes, sir.
in the past, there has been occasions where there would be two committees would meet at the same time, as far as, for example, the budget committee would meet with the education committee. In a situation like that, would that be considered two separate meetings?
To my knowledge, that is, you would be paid, if you're on the budget committee, you'd be paid for the budget committee meeting. If you were on the education committee, you'd be paid for the education committee meeting if they met jointly.
Okay, so under your resolution, it would.
My resolution has no effect on that.
Doesn't have no effect?
No.
Okay. Another question I've got, what would be the effective date if this was to vote?
Immediately.
Immediately. Okay. The third question I've got, under the way this is proposed, would this not be considered to be basically voting for a salary increase that would fall under conflict of interest things of that matter?
Mr. Phelps, did you answer that?
I'm sorry, rephrase that question again, I hope you directed to him.
Okay, well, if I read it correctly, if you do two meetings, previously, two meetings, if they met on the same day, you only got paid for one meeting. But if I understand this resolution correctly, if there is two meetings on the same day, you would get paid for both meetings.
Yes.
But I'm curious if it passes, would that not be considered to be a conflict of interest? Because in effect, we are, the way I interpret it, we would potentially be voting on a salary increase or increase in our wages or benefits.
No, I don't see it to be conflict of interest because you don't set the committee meeting, the committee sets the meeting, and therefore you don't have control over whether they would meet on the same day or not, and therefore I don't think it would amount to a conflict of interest in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? If not, cast your vote.
Yes, 3 no.
Moving on to the next resolution, 2021-04, and that is by Commissioner DeWitt.
To the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission in regular session, met this 27th day of January 2020. Resolution reference clarification of effective date of Technician 2 Recycle Center job description changes. Whereas on November 25th, 2019, the Hawkins County Commission passed Resolution 2019-1103, removing the P endorsement from Technician 2 job description for the recycling center. And whereas the wording of that resolution did not include an effective date for pay rates affected by that resolution, and whereas the intent of the Personnel Committee was to make any changes retroactive to the beginning of the 2019-2020 fiscal year, and whereas clarification of this intent was deemed necessary by the county attorney, now therefore be it resolved that changes in pay for those employees ranked as Recycle Center Technician 2 be effective as of July 1, 2019. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Motion by Commissioner DeWitt, second. Second by Commissioner Fields. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Harrell, you're recognized.
Commissioner DeWitt,
Yes, sir.
back in November, we was talking about that van. And I thought, and if I'm wrong, please correct me.
The van is not being used.
Well, I think the van is being used, because I seen it a couple times, I've been down there and talked to them, the van is being used.
Is it being used to transport people or just being used to?
To my understanding, it's going to the jail and picking up people. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm incorrect.
I can't correct you or not, because that's not the information that I received.
Well,
I defer that to the chairman of the Solid Waste Committee.
well, I like to table this resolution, let it go through solid waste, and then come back to the full commission.
Are you making said motion, Commissioner Harrell?
Yes, to send this back to the committee and let them look it over and make sure we're getting straight up facts on it.
Are you making a motion to table or send to committee?
Send to committee.
Motion's been made to send to committee. Is there a second? Second by who? I heard a second.
Commissioner Trent.
Commissioner Trent. And I apologize, we should have let clerk, there is a way that we could have voted on this, and we're messing things up. What we need to do, we're gonna do a voice vote on the motion to send it to committee, back to committee.
Send it to the solid waste committee, right?
Yes, solid waste.
I'm sorry,
He got it.
Send it to solid waste. Send
to
it
the
back
committee,
solid
send it
waste.
to the committee.
Yes.
Okay. And we're gonna have to do a voice vote.
Yes to send, no, no.
Yes means that send it back to the solid waste committee. No means that we're not.
Commissioner Fields,
Yes.
Keith Gibson,
Yes.
Linda Davis. Yes. Donnie Talley,
Yes.
Raymond Jesse,
Yes.
Tom Kern,
Yes.
Larry Quantz,
Yes.
Charles Housewright,
Yes.
Rick Brewer,
Yes.
George Bridwell,
Yes.
Danny Alvis,
Yes.
Hannah Speaks. Yes. Sybil Von Trent. Yes. Bob Edens,
Yes.
John Metz,
Yes.
Mike Farrell,
Yes.
Valerie Goins. Yes. Charles Thacker, Mark DeWitt,
Yes.
Jeff Barrett,
Yes.
Nancy Barker. Yes. 21 yes.
Thank you for your unanimous vote. This resolution will be sent to the solid waste committee for further evaluation. And then it will be brought back before the county commission once this is resolved. Thank you for your resolution.
Yes, sir.
Next item is 2020-0105, and this is introduced by Commissioner DeWitt.
Mr. Chairman, because there are some additional wordings that need to be added to this for clarification, and I didn't want to just do it as an amendment because it just would get too confusing. I'm going to pull this resolution and introduce it next month.
Commissioner DeWitt has pulled this resolution and going to bring it back next month. Next item on the agenda is 2020-0106, and that one is introduced by Commissioner Fields.
Resolution for reference Tennessee Community Development Block Grant for Emergency Communication Equipment Project. Whereas the Tennessee Community Development Block Grant Program has been established to assist local governments in meeting community development and housing needs consistent with objectives as set forth in the Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. And whereas Hawkins County, acting by and through its county commission, proposes to apply for 2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG funds for the purpose of performing eligible community development activities that will benefit residents of Hawkins County. Whereas Hawkins County will provide local financial support in conjunction with the CDBG funds to complete the above projects. And whereas under the terms and provisions of the Title I of Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, Hawkins County, as a recipient, is required to designate and appoint a financial officer to perform certain duties in administration and said grant. Now therefore, be it resolved by the County Commission of Hawkins County as follows, that Jim R. Lee, County Mayor, is hereby authorized to execute and submit an application with appropriate assurance to the State of Tennessee Department of Economics and Community Development Office of Program Management requesting fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant funds in the amount not to exceed $400,000 plus an eligible 3-star bonus allowance for an emergency communication equipment project, and that Hawkins County will be responsible for the local cash match to be provided in full by the general account, and that Jim R. Lee, County Mayor, be and is hereby designated and appointed as financial officer under the terms and pursuant and the provisions of the Title I of Hawkins County, of Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, and to perform on behalf of Hawkins County, Tennessee, those acts and assume such duties as are consistent with said positions. I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Fields, second by Commissioner Gibson. Commissioner Harrell, you're recognized for discussion.
I see a couple of things wrong with this resolution. I mean, myself, I don't like just writing a blank check. So we need to add what percentage of this grant we're gonna have to pay, and we need to put a dollar amount, cause it says Hawkins County will provide local financial support. So it needs to be a dollar amount put there also.
Director Miller, do you want to speak?
I can.
Or address Commissioner Harrell's asking?
To kind of let everybody know where we've got to this point, from our simulcast radio system lost a vital link that put us to where we're using 3 independent repeater sites. That's when we started looking at this funding to help offset some cost of that. I was contacted multiple times today between 3 and 5. There's a lot of moving parts on this. There's a good chance we can apply for this money in an emergent need that we're in now. Total funding for that would be around $294,200. That's approximately on about an 80-20 split. That's not exact because we've not got the contract signed yet, which the mayor would negotiate. But that's the amount of funding he thinks would be potentially available for emergency funding. If that money was approved, we'd be looking at several weeks to a few months to when that money would be available for building. The Public Safety Committee is meeting monthly presently, and until this is resolved, they've developed a task force, Hawkins County Emergency Communications Task Force, that's meeting weekly to come up with a solution. The solution's not been came up with yet. This is to start the application process for when that solution is presented and approved.
Commissioner Fields, can you amend this resolution to state them numbers?
We can, yes. Repeat what you wanted done again, Commissioner Ray.
We need to put a total amount that the county's gonna spend up front, which to my understanding, $294,200.
That's the amount he thinks is available, and a regular around that initial amount is what's available. In this emergent need, this is what he thinks is available. That application would cover either way, a normal round or an emergent round. That's why he left those figures as they were, so it would cover either way, that it went, whether it was emergent or regular round.
Are we not just looking at 74,200 for the county's part, 15%?
But the $294,200, it would be roughly an 80-20 split is what that would be. And like I say, that contract's not been negotiated yet, or signed off on, which would be done by the mayor. Correct?
That's correct. You can put a cap on this if you want to, but it's possible it could be less than 10% or 20%.
As far as the project, we can overmatch the project as much as we would like if the amount goes over that amount, as far as project cost. But like I say, this task force has not put their plan together yet on what they feel like is best plan, and it's not been approved yet. This is just to get the application process started for this, grant money.
I understand the 80-20, but you should have a max after the 80-20 that the county's gonna have to spend on this radio system.
I think that would be addressed by the, plan to correct our radio system, other than by a grant, application. You feel the same?
So is it gonna be $750? Total cost of this,
We're getting 750 from.
well, 723, whatever it is. So you can't give us a final amount on this grant, what it might cost the county in general?
As far as match,
Yeah.
be 20% of that figure would give you a rough estimate.
So what about where it says Hawkins County will provide local finance support? Is that saying after the 80-20 if it's going? So we need to put a dollar amount on that part right there. If not, we're more or less giving you authorization to spend $1 million if you want to.
I don't feel like that, I don't feel like I have authorization to spend $1 million, but
What's the local finance support amount?
I would feel that verbiage is for match,
Just a match?
or you can overmatch this project if you choose, but you'd have to choose to overmatch the project.
We'd have to come back to us, it'd have to come back to the commission to vote to overmatch.
So all we're gonna do is the 80-20. That's it, nothing else.
And on CDBG grant, because we're a three-star community, it will automatically be a 15% instead of a 20%.
Well, whatever
That
the
is
percentage
correct. There's some
is,
administration fees that touch it about 80-20.
That's what I was asking about.
$20 extra $1,000.
If we do that, it puts us at 15%, so it only puts us at 74.2.
This is the amount of funding he feels like would potentially be available in that emergency category. If you went into a regular round project, the potential for the amount on this resolution would potentially be available in a regular round. Which right now, we're looking at either direction that we can get the grant funded.
so more or less 80-20, maybe 85-15, more or less, is what you're saying, what we're gonna approve.
He's told me approximately 80-20. It could be, the contract's not on the table yet, but there's some negotiation that would have to go on with the mayor negotiating the
So
contract.
if we amend this to 80-20, are we gonna be safe?
Yes.
I wouldn't lock it down to 80-20. There's still some flexibility in it.
Well, that's what I'm wanting to know, flexibility, that's what you're not telling us. I mean, you're saying flexibility, it can go either way, but I mean,
I can't tell you because the contract's not been completely negotiated yet.
Are you finished, Mr. Burrell?
yes.
Mr. Tyler, you're recognized.
Well, that was my same question, what's the cap on the per match on this thing, and he proved that you did, but I'm still would like to have that final figure. We're waiting on a contract, to get the final figure. To me, we need to wait on this resolution, and that's just my thought.
Mr. Byrd, you're recognized.
I guess along with what Commissioner Correll and Commissioner Talley talked about, if if we go through and apply for this grant, and it comes back, say, 80-20 or whatever, if the amount that the county is obligated for, can we look at that time and
Are you
decide
speaking
if
of
we
the
want to?
grant or the radio system?
Well, I'm talking about the grant, not you.
Uh,
But what I want to know is, if we apply for it, and then it comes back and the amount that it costs the county is more than the commissioners want to agree to, can we refuse the grant, or do we have to go ahead and accept it?
I would imagine so, because the contract's not been negotiated yet and not been signed off on, so I would imagine that would be yes.
So we could.
Do you know, you've dealt with this before, Nancy, do you know?
Well, if you're gonna apply for the grant, you don't wanna refuse it, because if you do, you're gonna go down to the bottom of the list, and you're not gonna be eligible for any grants for a while.
And on this emergent, the reason the amount would potentially be that is that's about the potential amount that's available in that category. I feel confident if we don't take that money, someone else will.
And because of CDBG, once again, because CDBG grants are, governed by the 3-star, your match is gonna be 20% max, it may even be 15, because we get a certain amount of points for being a 3-star community. So therefore, it could be a 15 rather than a 20, but it's not gonna be any more than that. Match, the 20% match, how's that for 8%?
Are you finished, Commissioner Barrett? You got any other questions?
Well, I guess, just kind of, I'll just put it out there, if we don't do the grant, then what are we gonna do?
That's a good question. That's left up for this.
I guess that's the
That's gonna be an answer for
$300,000
this.
question, I guess.
That's gonna be an answer for the emergency task force, which their job is to pick the solution. Obviously, this would be a way to offset the cost of the solution, whatever the solution may be. This is a way to offset part of the cost, and what he feels like is the maximum amount we'd be able to offset it with at this time. If awarded.
Commissioner Thacker, you're recognized.
I think Mr. Harrell was talking about, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, the grant plus what we have to add to, up to that 700-some-thousand mark.
For the solution.
Whatever dollar figure that was, is that what you referring to?
The way that would work is a lot of that figure that was done as that estimate is end-user devices. You'd adjust that cost by the number of end-user devices in the field, portable mobile radios, down to whatever you were willing to spend for the radio system. Obviously, if you decrease that number, as far as your end-user devices that are in firemen, patrolmen, all emergency responders' hands would decrease at that point. That figure's a rough estimate of how many portables and mobiles we felt like the county would have decent emergency communications coverage.
Did you say that you were going to, we could look at it two different ways, an emergency block grant and also just a regular grant?
If we take the emergent, his recommendation right now is not to approach this. This has all changed several times today, but the last time I talked to him, if we take the emergent, he doesn't recommend to go back into a regular round because we're entering that emergent status as to fix our problem and as a full solution. So he said it wouldn't look good to go back in and ask for more money for a project that you should have just had a solution with, that they funded for a possible solution. Nothing at this point in this part of the application as far as equipment has to be put into this at this point, as far as what type of equipment, any of that. It's to basically get the application process started.
I guess I still have the floor. If this is approved and it comes back to us again to vote on, then we could put a cap on it at that time.
I would imagine the project itself,
I would think so.
but because the project will have to come back to commission up here.
And once you apply for the grant, you're gonna have to include the it's
Yeah.
gonna have to stay within that budget.
Yeah.
The last time I talked to him, he's with, as far as the application process, we started as early as tomorrow.
Yeah, cause deadline's almost done.
In this, in the emergent round, the deadline is, I don't think it's the same because it's a year-round program. We can take this grant and stop at the amount of overmatch we would want, or at the match, if that's what we've chosen. But obviously the project, the estimates on the project is because of end user devices.
Commissioner Mish, to recognize. Commissioner Goins.
The only thing I was gonna say is, I think some people possibly have misinterpreted what we're trying to do here. I feel that this is a grant and a grant's free money. And all we're gonna put in a $400,000 grant at the most is $80,000. I just wanted to clarify that, that's all.
These two resolutions are only for the grant, not the communication solution.
Right.
Correct.
So we're not really spending any money, we're just trying to get an okay to get this grant of free money.
Offset cost, yes.
Right.
Commissioner Burrell.
What's gonna happen if we don't get the grant? I mean, these radios has been down for Christmas, we don't have backup, so what are we gonna do if we don't get the grant?
I can't answer that question. I don't feel like anybody could.
Well, are we trying to fix the old system, or what are we doing? I mean, we're gonna depend on this thing lasting for the next 2 years, 5, whatever?
We're at 3 independent sites at this time. That committee's looking at every solution to improve what we have now. We're at 3 independent sites. The system's taxed, for sure, as far as the number of end user devices. The last time, the system was broken like this was around 2014. 911 calls have nearly doubled in that amount of time. I pulled those statistics for grant purposes. It was obviously a problem then as why it was being addressed. It's a bigger issue now just because of traffic on that system.
So
There's gonna have to be a solution.
if it goes down tonight, for example, what are we gonna do to protect our law officers and EMS and all that?
From the get-go, as far as the outage, I've got district resources on standby. I've got district resources on standby if they need to deploy into the county, with caches and radios. We'd obviously get with a vendor if we had an outage to try to get equipment in place as far as spares. That's how we would address that problem.
So we're gonna take a chance, hoping these radios don't go down, put everybody's life in jeopardy until we decide we're gonna get a grant or something.
I can have 30 radios in the county in a matter of hours. I feel safe in saying in an emergency. The same as any other county could tonight if they had an outage, you know. And that would be in a short amount of time. Obviously, we'd work on getting a better solution as quickly as we could, but that's something every radio system in the country is faced with, potential outage.
So what are we gonna do when 911, EMS, rescue squad, fire department, all come to county commission asking for radios for us to purchase? What are we gonna do then? Are y'all gonna have a plan in place for that?
The number of end user devices addresses to get the system up and going, that would have to be addressed when it comes to that point. That's given a certain number of radio to fire departments, a certain number of radios to rescue squads that's yet to be determined. Those overall figures are 201 mobile radios and 509 portables is the number that we've used to compare different systems, just to compare apples to apples as far as these systems. that's a low number of radios, but the equipment they have in the field now, they should be able to surplus to get additional new radios, so that's gonna be a unique situation for each individual department. Again, these two resolutions are only for grant purposes, at this time, to offset cost of whatever new system is chosen to be.
So, Commissioner Mance, where is this money gonna come from? Out of which account? Designated fund balance, public safety, what?
Are you talking about the match? So
Yes.
based on what you were saying earlier, it'd be about $60,000. We would either pull it out of the capital project fund, which would be my personal preference, or we would naturally have to pull it out of general fund if we don't pull it out of capital projects.
Any other questions, Mr. Burrell?
Not yet.
I will say, those since I was asking, if I can
Go ahead. Yours
Uh,
asked.
I think what you were talking about earlier was if someone would just go ahead and, amend this to a maximum of $60,000.
Yeah, pretty much. But nobody's, he ain't really told us that's the number we need, so, I mean, I don't.
Well, and yeah, am I okay? As Mr. Miller is, spoke, we're not really talking about the actual, final equipment that it would take to do it. We're just discussing the grant itself.
So it's actually after the grant, we get the grant, we're gonna see another resolution come through county commission to approve X amount of dollars for him to do his project.
That's when the massive amount of questions are gonna start.
So, one more question. Are we trying to fix what we've got now?
Every vendor that we've had look at the system that we have now, other than the one we'd give $20,000 to have the system back online in 4 hours that showed up 8 hours later, every other vendor's looked at the system and said they won't touch it, other than break it apart as it is now. They will not service the system in a simulcast fashion.
So what happened to the ones that we had doing the system? The old vendor?
The old vendor, by contract, was supposed to be here and have us back online in 4 hours, 8 hours, they showed up. 3 days later, we still didn't have a solution on the table, and never was able to get an adequate solution from it.
So, are we gonna try to fix this old system, or are we just gonna wait on this new stuff, or what are we gonna do?
We're having a committee meeting every week now, and it'll be up to the committee to make a decision on it. We won't know until they get finished. Our next meeting is Monday.
I understand that, but right now, as we speak, we have got deputies and everything else out here waiting on this radio might go down. So who's responsible if something happens to one of them? While we're waiting on these committees and everything else, what's gonna happen if something happens? Who is responsible?
That'd be a question directed to the attorney, I would imagine.
Mr. Phillips?
Well, my thought would be if you're making a good faith effort to try to remedy the situation, perhaps there wouldn't be any liability in the manner that you're speaking. But if you're setting that going up, and that'd be another matter.
We're trying to move forward, but you're hindering us on free money. I don't know what the problem is.
Are we trying to get spare parts in to fix this old system?
No, not for the old system. Every vendor that's looked at it said it can't be repaired, and they won't sign off on it.
So we can't go back to the old vendor that we had and try to get them to do it?
The system never performed as it, and this is getting into the radio system instead of grant, which was not the intention here, but the radio system has never performed at what the expectations for that system was. It was presented as a 3-site system, especially after the upgrades that were spent last. This system has never transmitted on 3 sites for any length of time, but maybe a couple of days at most in trial runs. But as around 2014 money and 17-18 money, the system never has translated on 3 sites. Obviously, the last vendor was given lots of money to make it transmit on those 3 sites and was unsuccessful.
If I may, I need to back up just a minute. I apologize to Commissioner Goins. I moved on before she was finished, and she has a question. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, I called the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Long time.
Commissioner, well, I think we've got so many people on the board right now, and I think it's been in the past, that we recognize everybody that's already on the board if questions called for. Or do we, does the commission want to vote for questions? I'm sorry, Ms. Goins, I misunderstood what you said.
Cause I saw that everybody was gonna keep on going, so.
I think that this is a very important matter, and if anybody's got any questions, I think that they need to be heard.
I do too, but I'm afraid that some of the folks are getting off the subject of this resolution.
I'm gonna take the authority, I'm gonna call for a 5-minute recess, and when we come back, I'm gonna step down from the chair and let Mr. Barrett take the chair, if that's all right now, we're on a 5-minute recess. Well, I want a 5-minute recess.
This should be like a no-brainer. I don't get it. I can't hear you.
You look up, say us here.
I do?
Yeah, you look kind of.
I couldn't be more delighted.
Public safety meeting flown by. They talk about the radio has gone down. That's pretty bad. That's what they were talking about. That's what he was talking about that day. They really need a system to replace what they are. I'm kind of surprised.
Unbelievable number of people that use the system at the same time.
Yeah.
Way beyond capacity to use for EMTs.
And that got done away with. They got spotlighted.
Sprint called and killed them. The system worked. I mean, I come up there to talk to the guy in Guatemala. Went home on vacation and took his phone. I asked some questions, and the answers they were instantaneous.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
But I agree.
You know what time it is? 7:06. I gotta leave here about 8. So I gotta write a story tomorrow's paper. That's why these breaks don't help me. I mean, they know they're gonna spend money, one way or the other. And this is just for the grant application.
Is everybody back? Charles Thacker's not back? Oh, I'm sorry. Is everybody back this evening? I'm gonna turn the chair over to the chairman pro tem, Mr. Barrett, proceed with the meeting. And I wish to speak on this resolution if that's all right with everybody in this committee.
I'm withdrawing my request. Mine's been answered.
Okay. Chairman, it's turned to proceeding of the meeting over to me to take care of resolution 2020-01-06 and also resolution 2020-01-07. So, we do have people up on the board that have already pushed the button that would like to speak. We also have a person that has called for the question. So we will do the people that's on the board in that order. Then we will recognize Mr. Brewer, and then we will call for the question. So, is there any discussion or clarification on the procedures?
I don't have a button to push, Mr. Chairman, so I'm not gonna be on the board.
Okay, we will recognize you as far as.
If you call for that question, I've got an amendment to make this, that if you call for that question before that, are you gonna let us talk? Is that what you said?
If you're on the board.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go Valerie's question. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Okay, oh, you're fine. Okay, looks like,
Oh, Lordy.
let's see, who's
Well, Commissioner Housewright's got a race for some reason, so he was actually before me.
okay, all right, we will go with,
Oh, he's flashing, sorry.
we'll go with,
My question is, when we apply for the grant, and let's say we get it, what kind of stipulations, clauses, timelines, does it have to be designated straight for the radio service?
We're applying for this grant as an emergent need for an emergency communication system. All that would be done through contracts. If we're approved for emergent funds, which like I said, this is being looked at from two different directions with this resolution. The first obviously would be an emergent because those funds would be able to be available sooner. If we were approved for that type grant, He said as far as money to start construction would be anywhere from several weeks to a few months. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this as far as environmental, contractual agreements, vendors, equipment, which all would have to be addressed at that point.
Okay, what timeline do they put on you if they approve for the grant? Mother Nature, construction, according to the bids, environmental permits through the state probably. How long a timeline do they give you to have the job completed?
I'm sure there is a cap, at some point. I'm not aware of what that is. I know as far as, the major deal with that is you can't have two of these grants in regular round open at the same time.
One has to be closed.
So if you're awarded a grant,
It has to be
on the
completed.
regular round, that grant has to be completed before the next grant can be applied for. Emergently, that's a little bit different. My understanding, I'm not for sure what the actual rules are on that, but I know as far as regular round, if you have one open, it has to be closed before you can apply for the next.
So you really don't have any idea of what stipulation timeline is just, there's so many variables because of the project.
That is correct. And depending on which system was chosen to go with, would depend on where the
Well,
timeline.
it doesn't apply to the systems, like you said, this is about the grant, not the radio, but bottom line, if they apply the grant, there has to be some kind of contingency clauses in there to give you a timeline to complete, that's all I was.
That is correct. That would have to be added in. That would be a contractual thing that we have to look at.
To negotiate when you try to get it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Housewright, do you have any more questions? Okay. Looks like we will go to, Mr. Thacker. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Fields, you have the floor, sir.
I want to clarify right quick what Valerie touched on a while ago. We are talking just about a grant right here. We know the systems aren't the best in the world, and we know it's gonna have to be fixed. Sooner or later, something's gonna come up, but we're not voting on a resolution to fix anything right now. We are talking about the money for the grant, just approving or not approving money for a grant right here, not to fix anything. We have the committees in order to talk about that, to give us estimates to do this. All right, with that being said, I'd like to make an amendment to this, that we cap, because we don't know if it's gonna be 15% or 20, we put a cap of an $80,000 match. I don't, John, maybe you can help me with that, how to put that exactly on there?
I would recommend, third paragraph where it says, Hawkins County will provide local financial support in conjunction with the CDBG funds in an amount not to exceed $80,000 to complete the above, project.
My only thing that would come up there, and I just want to bring it to your attention, is if this goes into a regular grant project, I don't know if we'd be able to get all the free money we could get, with that amount of money.
So if I might say $400,000 is what's listed in this.
For 20, which is starting, which is 3 star. I don't know if that's listed in here as the 3 stars, but additions in here now. 420 is potentially available in regular range. Due to us being 3 stars.
Is that the motion that you've made, Commissioner Fields?
Yes, sir.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Phillips a question. Mr. Phillips, with the people that have already pressed buttons to speak, and with the call for the question over here, is it permissible to make an amendment
Well,
at this point? Or-
number one, a call for question is not automatic. If there's an objection to it, then technically you'd have to vote, and it has to pass by 2/3, so that's all debate. But, so that would take care of call for question if anybody objected. Now we've got an amendment on the floor. In my opinion, we need to vote on the amendment, because that could determine any further discussion or pending discussion, depending on where that amendment passes.
Okay, so we'll proceed then. So we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Fields, we have a
I second.
second by Mr. Harrell.
vote on the
You know, had any debate or any discussion, yes.
Okay. Ms. Davis, would you repeat the amendment as presented?
My understanding that they're gonna amend the third paragraph of that resolution not to exceed $80,000 to complete the project.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the question I would have to that, and I know I'm somewhat, know a little bit about grants. If we put that little amount in there, is that gonna affect us getting that grant? And, you know, I understand that that's the max, because we've got a project, and everybody sitting here knows, we can't just sit here forever and not fix this situation. Now, we're talking about a grant right now that we don't even know that we're gonna get. We think we're gonna get it, but we don't know that we're gonna get it. But we probably are not gonna be able to sit here and wait. There's gonna be more than $80,000 that we're gonna have to spend on this project besides just, and that's just gonna take care of the max for this grant once, if we do get it. But we're probably looking at spending a whole lot more money than that, because we're talking, from what I understand, this one project that, and it's the conservative one, is gonna cost $720,000 some odd dollars. Am I right, Mr. Miller?
That's what.
And, you know,
Presented as a.
if we put that $80,000 in there, what we're saying is, if we do this project that we're talking about, we're still gonna be how many, $100,000 short.
We're only talking about our max though.
No, the max is down here in paragraph, in the real dark paragraph, the next to the last paragraph, that's where the max is at. So, you know, we gotta be sensible about this, and, you know, I'm not for writing no blank check. I think there needs to be an amount there too. But we cannot limit this to $80,000 and think that we're going to take care of our situations we got with the radios right now. And that's my understanding. And that would be my question is, are we sure we want to put $80,000 in there when we know we're going to have probably at least 300 more thousand?
I thought the agreement was to do this grant, and then whatever they needed for the project, they was coming back to it.
But this is my thinking, knowing they're not going to fund a grant if let's say we've got that $725,000 project. These people that's funding this grant is not going to give us a $400,000 grant if we don't have $300 and something thousand to go along with it to finish the project. You know, and that's why if I'm thinking that we need to put $320,000 in that, and then if we want to take down here, you know, we already know that it can't be more than 20% on the max, and that's taken care of down here. That's at $80,000. Am I saying this wrong?
Yeah. I thought we just gonna have a
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right now,
I don't know the commission ever being approached with this amount of money for communications since around the 2004 or 5 era, as far as grant money. Grant funding for this type of project isn't easy to come by. This grant money is presented in resolutions to submit an application and hire an administrator. To my knowledge, anything near this amount's never been.
but how much the system will or will not cost has nothing to do with this grant.
Correct.
I beg to differ with that, Dawson. It does have something to do with that grant, because they're not going to fund anything if we don't have the money to complete the project. They're not going to fund the project and it get halfway done, and then we don't have the money to complete it.
Hey guys, y'all, just a second. Now let's be peaceful, okay? Let's do this. with some structure and some organization to it, okay?
I mean, Fort Rick's saying right.
Push them up, okay? Let's be ready, guys, okay, guys? But, I guess, Mr. Brewer, to answer your question, I don't have a clue what the answer is. You know, that's a good point. You know, it's something to work on, but, you know.
You're the chairman.
This, and I apologize for putting you in that position, Mr. Chairman, but, you know, I've dealt with enough grants in the past when I was mayor of Bean Station to know that what I'm saying, I mean, I asked that question, but I already know the answer to it, okay? You know, we're not gonna get any grant if we limit it to $80,000 and we're saying that this project's gonna cost $720,000. Well, $400,000 grant and $80,000 amount, that still leaves you, you know, $300,000, or almost $300,000 short. And they're not gonna fund that.
Okay. Is there any more discussion, I guess, on the amendment? Anybody?
Mr. Barr, could I make one comment? I think people are missing what we're talking about.
No. As chairman, Mr. Martin, I have to remain neutral. I cannot, if one of the other commissioners wishes to recognize you, then I will defer that to them respectfully.
Mr. Mayor, recognize me.
I'm not on the board, sir. I would if I was on the board.
You're on the commission.
I know, but I'm trying to follow the rules here.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that every citizen of Hawkins County should have a right to express themselves, especially as a commission meeting. I will ask you to recognize Mr. Martin.
Okay. At the request of Commissioner Klontz, Mr. Martin, I will give you 3 minutes, sir.
I don't need 3 minutes, really.
Okay.
I know what he said, but y'all think he's talking about fixing the radios. He's talking about getting the grant, and what's it gonna cost us to get the grant. That's what he's talking about. Our project, we know is gonna be way over $700,000 if we fix the system. It's gonna cost us something to pay somebody to file a grant to get the grant. And that's where he was looking at on his, because he was talking about gonna file for a grant, hoping to get $400,000. We're gonna have to pay whoever files that grant some money to get it. What's the most we're gonna have to pay him? And that's what he was talking about. That's what Mr. Fields was talking about. He wasn't talking about spending $720,000 to put the radio in. The way I understood it, is that what it's about?
Not necessarily, I wasn't talking about what we're going to have to pay somebody to do to file a grant. I was referring to our match, which is already covered down there. But here, now I'm not on the board to speak, I'm sorry, Commissioner Gibson is.
Well, then if it's for the whole project, it's gonna cost us $300 and some thousand if we get a $400,000 grant. It's that simple.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Okay.
After Mr. Gibson, I would like to see made.
Yes, let's go ahead with you, Kate.
We're putting this $80,000, not to exceed. What if we moved it down there to the bottom, where it said the Hawkins County will be responsible for the local cash match to be provided in full by the general accounts? Then if we put not to exceed the $80,000 in that spot right there where it's talking about the local match, and not put it up top, because I sort of agree with Commissioner Brewer that on some of these grants, if they don't see that you're willing to fund it, the whole amount, knowing it's gonna be $700,000, we may not get that. But here, it actually talks about the cash match. And if we pay the $80,000 right there instead of up top. And that's all I wanted to say on it. Thank you.
I thought that's what I was doing a while ago, but, I mean, like I said, I don't.
The numbers just aren't right. That's, I would like to be recognized by somebody, please.
Go ahead.
The way I understand it is, if you have a total grant, a total project, you're expecting to be $700,000. You're applying, that's all this is about, is applying for a grant to get up to $294,000. That means the balance of the project is gonna be $400,000, correct? It's like, you're not saying you're gonna give $400,000. You're agreeing that you're gonna provide local funding in the 80-20 split, or whatever the requirements for the program are. So if you put it at $80,000 and the 20% is gonna be, $140,000, if it's $70,000, you're not talking about 20% of the grant amount. You're talking about 20% match for the total cost of the project. So it could be $140,000. So why don't you just put a 20% cap? Don't put a dollar number, but put the required amount. Okay, when we apply for a grant, it's total of the project is what I'm saying. When I have applied for a grant, it was part of the project. So, but if you put a max of 20% though, not a dollar figure, if you just put the max of 20%, which is what they're expecting you to fund, then why, I'm not understanding why that wouldn't work. So I'm not talking about the dollar amount, whether it's 80 or 140, whatever it is. But you're saying in the grant application that you will provide in local funding a match of up to 20%. So I don't know why it doesn't make sense to just put a cap on the percentage, and then once you get it and you get your contracts, you'll have details about the information. But if you don't apply for a grant, you don't get the money, period. So it seems like if you're going to argue this, you're going to miss a deadline, and then, all these details can be hammered out later. So that's what I'm saying.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, I believe we have a motion for an amendment that's been discussed. So we're okay, that where we're at, everybody? Ready to vote on the amendment?
Hold on, Mr. Barrett, sorry.
Let me clarify, please, before we do this. We're gonna put this,
I want to withdraw my amendment, but he was going to change it. There you go.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, hold on a second, Mr. Burke. If Mr. Dawson withdraws his amendment, his motion for an amendment, then there's no amendment, so we'll kick it back to the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, it's very important that this resolution passes tonight, because this resolution is part of the grant application. And if we did not pass it tonight, then if this does not go the emergency route, we're gonna miss the February 28th deadline, because if we wait for the next meeting to try to pass this resolution, we're not gonna have time to get everything in. And to satisfy everybody on this commission, and I think that I have a solution, is I would like to amend this resolution under paragraph 3, where we're talking about the $80,000, to not exceed $320,000. And then down here in the next to the last paragraph, we're talking about the match not to exceed $84,000.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Can you say that again?
Did you get all that, Nancy? I'm sorry. It could possibly be as much as $420,000, or 20% of that is $84,000. We're talking about the cash match. I don't know if we've ever got a second to that motion or not.
Well, that's basically what I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need a second for your amendment. Is there Is there a second for Mr. Brewer's amendment? Going once? Going twice? Okay, let the record show that there is no second for Mr. Brewer's amendment. So at this time, we will go back to Ms. Goins, calling for the question. You're on the board, okay. Sorry, Mr. Gibson, go ahead.
I'd like to amend the motion that we put at the paragraph that I mentioned, that we put not to exceed the 80%, then where the Hawkins County be responsible for the local cash match to be divided in full by the general account, and then not to exceed the 20%, because we do not know what this project is going to cost. And if we put a cap up here, it can come back and cause us problems at a later date. So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to put it right, put the 20% match at that spot.
Not to exceed
Not to exceed the 20%, yes.
20% local match.
We have no amendment on the floor right now.
Purple button.
Is there a second to Mr. Gibson's motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Mr.
The
Tass.
button says second, it's a purple button.
Yeah, I'm asking.
You need to take mine down, because it's still showing me as top mine also. Won't let it.
Commissioner Talley did.
Try your button for a second.
What time are you out there?
I say that is, oh, sorry. I was on top of my hand, sorry.
An hour. This is a no-brainer.
We'll give the clerk a few minutes to get the motion together, guys. Appreciate you people out here being patient with us.
Donna, you're gonna second that, and you wouldn't put your second. Not to exceed 20,000, 20% local match.
Okay, okay, I will have the clerk to repeat the amendment for, so everybody be clear on what we're voting on, and then we'll vote on the amendment. Or we'll have discussion on it.
We're gonna amend the paragraph that says that Hawkins County will be responsible for the local cash match not to exceed 20%. Is that correct?
Okay. Okay, everybody clear on the amendment? Okay, is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, all right, we'll vote on the amendment to the resolution.
Chairman, I call for question.
Okay, we're gonna vote on the amendment. If you're for the amendment, as it's been stated, vote yes, and if you're against it, vote no. Cast your votes. Okay, looks like the votes are in. So,
19 yes, 1 no, 1 abstain.
okay, now then we'll go back and we will vote on the original resolution as amended. Okay. So everybody clear on that? Okay, as soon as the clerk's ready, we'll vote on that.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready to vote?
Okay. Okay, we're voting, fixing to vote on the original resolution as amended. Okay? Cast your votes.
Yes, 1 abstain.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go on to resolution 220107, introduced by Commissioner Dawson Field. Mr. Field, you have the floor, sir.
Resolution of reference approval for administrative management services to assist in preparing and administrating 2020 Community Development Block Grant Application Grant. Whereas Hawkins County, Tennessee desires to apply for financial grant assistance as provided under the State of Tennessee 2020 Small Cities Community Development Block Grant CDBG program, and whereas the County Commission of Hawkins County finds it is in the county's best interest to secure the assistance of an experienced and qualified administrative management service firm to assist in preparing, administrating the county's 2020 Community Development Block Grant application, and whereas in compliance with the potential state regulation, the county has solicited and evaluated statements and qualifications of interest, professional CDBG administrative assistance firms, and whereas the County Commission of Hawkins County has determined that the County Development Partners LLC has the most appropriate experience, background, and qualifications to provide said service, and whereas Community Development Partners LLC will conduct the work necessary to complete the CDBG application and on a non-cost basis, and in the event of the project is successfully funded, County Development Partners LLC will assist in the administration of the project. Now therefore be it resolved that the County Commission of Hawkins County hereby select Community Development Partners LLC to provide assistance to the preparation and administration of the county's 2020 CDBG grant application. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Brewer. Is there any discussion? Okay, Commissioner Harrell, you have the floor, sir.
If we get this grant, the administrative management service, what percentage are they gonna get of this grant?
Address that to the mayor, that'll be through contractual agreements.
I can't hear you come up front.
I said I'll relay that question to the mayor, that'll be through contractual agreements.
What was the question?
What was the charge? The
It's gonna be
fee,
somewhere around 6%, but we've not agreed on anything yet. That'll come a little later.
Mr. Harrell, do you have any more questions, sir? Okay, we'll go to number 2 up on the board, Mr. Commissioner Mance. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. My question is, what benefit of going with Community Development Partners over First Tennessee Development District? Because that's who we've always used in the past. Is there any benefit of going to them versus the way we've always done it?
The track record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
They come highly
there's a negotiated, fee for this grant, what is the set fee for First Tennessee Development District?
Like I say, we're still talking about the contract.
So do you know that?
They don't charge you anything, you already have a contract with them. First Tennessee Development District,
We do.
so there wouldn't be an additional
Right.
fee. So
So we're
why are
gonna
we
lose,
paying for a fee?
so we would lose 6% of the grant,
Right.
right?
24,000.
Okay. Do you have any more questions, Mr. Mayor?
I think that answers my question.
Okay. Okay. Has anybody else got any more questions?
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to just say one word. I personally know this individual, and I made this statement in the budget committee. I personally know this individual that's, working with, Mayor Lee and Director Miller on this grant. And he's very aggressive about the grants he goes out there. He's not gonna apply for a grant if he's not pretty sure that he's gonna get it, because he don't make any money unless he gets that grant. Now, not throwing those stones, and I'm just gonna leave it at there, but, you know, it's not every time that you apply for a grant that you get it. And I'll have to say this, when I was in position as mayor of each station, every grant that he applied, he was who we used on the last, we used, East Tennessee Development District when I first became mayor down there. And we didn't get no satisfaction from them, and that's why we went to this individual. And I'll say every grant that he applied for on Earth Ag, he got it. So this is the way that I always looked at that, you know, even if it was a 10% amount that it cost you, and I say that by even math, 90% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So, you know, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Brewer. Okay, the resolution's on the floor. It's been duly, had a motion, been duly seconded. We've had discussion. It's time to vote on the resolution. Cast your votes.
Yes, 4 no, 2 abstain.
Okay, we're up to resolution 220108, and at this time, I'd like to thank the commissioners for your patience with me, and I'll turn the meeting over to the chairman, Commissioner Brewer. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrett. 2020-0108, introduced by Commissioner Thacker.
Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman, members of Hawkins County Board of Commissioners, regular session met January 2000. Approval to transfer title of ownership of the train depot in Rogersville City along with lease agreement to the Rogersville Heritage Association. Whereas in 1986, Southern Railway Company donated to Hawkins County, Tennessee, train depot property at the corner of Depot Street and Broadway. Please see the attached timeline and documents of ownership report in the Hawkins County Register of Deeds office. And whereas on May 12th, 1987, Hawkins County entered into a lease agreement with the Rogersville Heritage Association, leasing the train depot property for a period of 99 years, beginning May 12th, 1987, and ending at midnight, May 11th, 2086. Attachments also here to see
Motion by Commissioner Thacker, second by Commissioner Durrell. Is there any discussion? If not, would everyone please cast your vote? Polly. We say I apologize to Commissioner DeWitt. We will. Wait till you get back, Commissioner.
21 yes.
Motion carries. Next, resolution is, 2020-0109, and what we're getting, I'm gonna take just 1 or 2 minutes. Commissioner DeWitt had asked for a 5-minute recess, and I apologize. I forgot, that's it. But, before we get down to the voting part or whatever, I guess we can go ahead and read it, and I don't want to get past the point that he's not able to vote on this resolution, so I'd recognize Commissioner Alvis at this time.
If there's no objections to it, on the last paragraph, I would like to remove where you pay your fees, you'll be paying them to the trustee's office instead of the stormwater manager, if no one objects to that. If not, to the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission, met this 27th day of January 2020. This resolution is in reference for approval of permit fee schedule for urbanized MS4 stormwater areas in Hawkins County, Tennessee, beginning January 28, 2020. Whereas the Environmental Committee met on December the 9th, 2019, and it was addressed by Mr. Vince Fishner, Stormwater Manager for Hawkins County. He stated that Hawkins County needs to update the fee schedule approved by Resolution 2012-07 that helps to cover the cost incurred in reviewing stormwater plans and inspecting the sites. These reviews and inspections are a requirement of the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, TDEC. The costs associated with stormwater plan review are both licensed engineer review and lab testing where needed, and travel to and from the site. The stormwater manager is paid the same each month and would get no compensation from these fees except for travel reimbursement. And an engineer's review is not always required. However, if the fee is the developer's cost, not the taxpayer's. Whereas fees will only affect the Hawkins County urbanized area, not agricultural, and only 1 acre or more is involved. Whereas the fee schedule is attached. Therefore, be it resolved that the fee schedule permit and approve that the collection of said fees permits begins January 28th with the trustee of Hawkins County collecting the fee, and Mr. Vince Fisher will still be issuing the permits. Therefore, I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Alvis, second by Commissioner Durrell. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Vince is in attendance tonight if anyone has any questions concerning this.
If there's no discussion, would you cast your vote, please?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 2020-0110, introduced by Commissioner Fields.
Resolution to reference approval to release close a portion of Ball Road as a county road and will become a private drive to be maintained by someone other than the county. Whereas Ball Road intersecting with Richards Road and being 1 of 4/10, 1.04 of a mile in length to dead end, excuse me, with a 30-foot right-of-way in the 4th Commission District, became a county road in road VAD recording December 5th, 1969, and was added to the road list. And whereas the property owner at the dead end of the road has requested the Hawkins County release/close the last 4/10, 0.04 of a mile that the portion of the road to become a private drive, and whereas the road committee met on December 10th, 2019, and was presented a notarized closure request from the property owner,
The committee agreed unanimously to ask the county commission to approve the release/close of the requested portion of Bile Road. The portion of the road effective will be as follows. Bile Road beginning at the 1 mile mark from the intersection of Richards Road and extending 4/10.04 of a mile to the end of Bile Road. Whereas upon passage of the resolution, said portion of Bile Road will become a private drive and Hawkins County will be released, relinquished, and discharged from maintaining this portion of the road. Therefore be it resolved that approval to be given to the release closed affirmation, portion of Bile Road as a public road and removed from the road list. I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Fields, second by Commissioner Gibson. Is there any discussion? Mr. Barrett?
Commissioner Fields, when the individual filled out the closure request form, did he state a reason as to why he was requesting?
He did actually. Him and his family had moved in here, and right where he lives, that last 4/10, there's a lot of people driving down in there, throwing trash out, waste out, a lot of people parking down in there after hours late at night, and he's had to run them off. He's got quite a few people down in there, just parking after hours and stuff. And him and his family moved in there. He has quite a few kids, and mother-in-law, and there's quite a few of them living there together on that last bit. And I think it's a safety matter for the big part.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gibson?
Commissioner Barrett, I will add this to it. The house that they live, there's a barn so far down this road, and their house is way on down the road past that. He said they see a lot of lights up in there at night and go up there, and like Commissioner Fields said, they find all kinds of junk thrown out and stuff that he don't want on his property. And, so with him being that far removed from it, it's not like his house is right there at the front. It's a pretty good distance off.
Thanks, sir.
Any other discussion? Would you cast your vote?
Yes.
Next resolution is 2020-01-11, introduced by Commissioner Barton.
To the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission in regular session, met the 27th day of January 2020. Resolution in reference approval of properly disposed of surplus property, specifically 4 tables from the Hawkins County Health Department. Whereas office furniture and equipment have been purchased with county funds by Hawkins County Health Department, and that has been taken out of service by the Hawkins County Health Department, is considered surplus property and must be disposed of properly. And whereas in the past, when an office or department has furniture or equipment that is no longer needed but is still usable, the item has been taken off the office or department inventory and stored at the Hawkins County Health Department. Often items have been redistributed to other offices or departments in need of them. Whereas there is furniture and equipment of various monetary values in storage at Hawkins County Health Department that will not be suitable for another county office or department, as well as items that only have recycled value. Whereas the 4 tables would be more beneficial to the Boys and Girls Club of Hawkins County than to sit in storage. Now therefore be it resolved that approval be given to properly dispose of the chairs by donating them to the Boys and Girls Club of Hawkins County. A disposal list of items will be kept in the mayor's office. I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Barker, second by Commissioner Harrell. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to point out that this needs to pass by 2/3 vote, and that you all agree that the value of the tables would be less than $1,000 under the statute.
Does everybody understand comment from Mr. Phillips? Is everybody ready to vote? Please cast your vote.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, 2020-012, introduced by Commissioner Barton.
Resolution in reference approval to properly dispose of surplus property and disposition of GMC Jimmy 1998, whereas the vehicle has been purchased with county funds for Hawkins County, and that is being taken out of service by various Hawkins County offices is considered surplus property and must be disposed of properly. Whereas in the past, when an office or department has a vehicle that is no longer needed or usable, the item has been taken off the office or department inventory and stored in the Hawkins County office or department. The 1998 GMC Jimmy currently belonging to the Assessor of Properties Office is no longer of useful value to that department and needs to be declared surplus and disposed of properly. Whereas there is a vehicle that will not be suitable for another county office or department as well as, and only has a recycle or minimum resale value. Whereas the 1998 GMC Jimmy VIN 1GKD T13W28160041 shall be declared to be surplus property. Now therefore be it resolved that the approval be given to the surplus, properly surplus and dispose of the 1998 GMC Jimmy VIN number previously stated. The approval be given to this item to be transferred to the county departments if needed or sold by secret bid or public auction. I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Barker, second by Commissioner Goins. Commissioner Talley, you're recognized.
I guess I'm a little confused up here in one paragraph. Says vehicle is not suitable for another county office or department. But then down here on the last, it said approval be given for this item to be transferred to another county department.
If needed, would be, why?
Pardon?
If needed, it would be transferred.
Well, one says, it says it's not suitable to be transferred to another department. Is it suitable to be transferred, or is it not suitable?
Well, it's gonna be declared surplus, and I guess if another department felt like that they could do something with it, with the surplus, then it would be suitable, but if it's not, then it needs to be surplus and sealed, bid, and sent to a public auction.
Well, it's just confusion. You got one paragraph saying one thing, another paragraph saying the opposite.
Mr. Rouse.
Yes, if this vehicle is operational, I'd like to do a resolution next month, declared surplus, giving it to the Hawkins County Humane Society to be used on site out there and to be left out there. I think this would be a good gesture to do. I will talk to, the property assessor and see what's currently wrong with this vehicle and whatever it needs. But I will introduce that resolution next month.
So what do you wanna do?
I'm just going on record.
Do you wanna table this until next month, is that what you're saying?
Might as well.
I think it would need to be moved to tables, that's what
No.
Yes, I would like to table it.
We've been advised that if this is the action that the commission wants to take, that we need to have a motion to table this motion.
I'll put that in the form of motion.
Is there a second? Hang on a minute, we can't debate that, but who seconded that motion? I'm sorry. Okay, we got a motion and second to lay this on the table, with everybody cast their vote. There is no discussion on the table of the motion. I'm sorry, wait. I'm sorry.
Yes, the table, no, not the table.
No, we're gonna wait a minute on the vote.
ready to proceed, we're gonna have to do a voice vote on this. When your name's called, vote yes if you're for table, and no if you're against table.
George Bridwell,
Yes.
Raymond Jesse,
Yes.
Sybil Von Trent. Yes. Jeff Barrett,
Yes.
Keith Gibson,
Yes.
Tom McKern,
Yes.
Danny Alves.
Yes.
Charles Housewright,
Yes.
Charles Thacker,
Yes.
Dawson Fields,
Yes.
Valerie Goins,
Yes.
Anna Speaks. Linda Davis.
Yes.
Mark DeWitt,
Yes.
John Metz,
Yes.
Nancy Barker. Yes. Larry Quantz,
Yes.
Rick Brewer,
Yes.
Bob Eads,
Yes.
Michael Harrell,
Yep.
Johnny Towle,
Yes.
21.
Okay, that's laid on the table. We'll move on to the next resolution, 2020-0113. And that's introduced by Commissioner Barker.
Resolution in reference, approval to properly dispose of surplus properties, specifically 9 tables and 15 fabric chairs from the Hawkins County Emergency Management Agency. Whereas the office furniture and equipment has been purchased with county funds by Hawkins County Emergency Management Agency, and that has been taken out of service by the Hawkins County Emergency Management Agency, is considered surplus property and must be disposed of properly. And whereas, in the past, when an office or department has furniture or equipment that is no longer needed, but is still usable, the item has been taken off the office or department inventory and stored at the Hawkins County Emergency Management Agency. Other items have been redistributed to other offices or departments in need of the items. Whereas there is furniture and equipment of various monetary value in storage at the Hawkins County Emergency Management Agency that will not be suitable for another county office or department, as well as items that only have a recycle value. Whereas the 9 4-foot wood grain tables should be more beneficial to the Boys and Girls Club of Hawkins County than to sit in storage. Therefore, be it resolved that approval be given, properly dispose of the chairs and tables by donating same to the Boys and Girls Club of Hawkins County. A disposal list of the items will be kept in the mayor's office. I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Barker, second by Commissioner Goins. Is there any discussion?
Same ruling as the other one, that'd be about less than $1,000.
Needs to be 2/3 vote.
2/3 vote.
Everyone cast your vote, please.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next resolution is 2020-0114, introduced by Commissioner Barker.
Resolution in reference, approval to properly dispose of surplus property, specifically electronics for electronic recycling. Whereas electronic office equipment that has been purchased with county funds by Hawkins County and that is being taken out of service by various Hawkins County offices is considered surplus property and must be disposed of properly. And whereas in the past, when an office or department has electronic equipment that is no longer needed or valuable, the items have been taken off the office or department inventory and stored in the Hawkins County office or department. And whereas there is electronic equipment of various monetary value and storage at various Hawkins County offices or departments that will not be suitable for another county office or department, as well as items that only have a recycle value. And whereas the electronic equipment, which is listed as an attachment, and is most appropriate to be disposed of by a professional electronics recycling company. And whereas therefore be it resolved that approval be given to properly dispose of electronic equipment through an electronic recycling company. A disposal list of the items will be kept in the mayor's office.
Commissioner Barker makes the motion, Commissioner Eden second. Mr. Harrell, you're recognized for discussion.
I noticed on the second page, there's a RCA TV on there. Is it good? Can we give it to the Boys and Girls Club also? If it's any good?
If it's, I mean, if you also desire, I would also like